All right, let's get started with the presentation, shall we? Hello, everybody. My name is Andrew Ascough. I am a representative of the Open Sensor Technique, and this is my associate here, Ben Seamans. We are here today to tell you about something that you may not know about. But we are interested in hearing if any of you are aware of the Open Sensor Cinematography technique. So can I see a show of hands of those who are aware? Okay, a few. Have any of you attempted any tests with this technique in the past? Excellent, cool. So we have one or two people in the room that are aware. So this presentation is pretty much to bring your awareness to this fantastic technique that is sweeping Hollywood's style.
Okay, so we want to shed a little bit of light on this. So Hollywood has always, for the last century basically, been the paramount of the filmmaking. They've always been using the best equipment, the best techniques. They've always had the best films. And until the DSLR age came around, about maybe 10, 15 years ago, Hollywood basically had a monopoly on digital cinematography. And so DSLRs came around, and then everybody was able to use these digital cameras. And so Hollywood had to find out what was the next step in cinematic storytelling. And they discovered open sensor shooting. And this totally redefined what is considered cinematic.
So Hollywood is lying to you. They're lying to you about the techniques that they use to film their high-res productions. And this is to throw you off, to throw the indie filmmaking community off the trail of what makes a film truly cinematic. Now, as fellow film students, we want to expose this to you. So, a lot of you know or some of you may know that Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, was claimed to have been shot on film. As was Dunkirk, the Christopher Nolan film that was recently shot on film, IMAX, whatever. Bull stuff. Bull stuff. I call bull stuff. These films were actually filmed using the open sensor technique. Rolls of film are definitely not an adequate form to be putting images on. Film is plastic. It makes a fake image, a fake false plastic image. Also, using the term ASA as opposed to ISO is an insult to modern filmmaking. So we are here to continue to show you why we need to change this.
So as Andrew said, lots of the times filmmakers want to actually throw back the filmmaking community by saying that they shot on film, which is something that we've been using for centuries. Of course, we're not shooting on film anymore. So this is actual representation. Only about 16 to 17% of films are actually shot on film. These are mostly in the indie community by people who don't know any better and just decide to go with that. About 1/3% of films are shot digitally. These are often films that are trying to save a little bit of money, since open sensor can cost a little bit more in post-production. It's worth it, we can talk about that later. But they try to save a little bit of that money and use a little less experienced crew by shooting digitally. The rest, 50% of Hollywood, is shot open sensor. It's actually been like this for a while. These numbers are from 2014. So it could be up to 60 or 70% by now. But Hollywood has definitely figured this out, and we are trying to help you guys and other filmmakers figure out how to shoot open sensor.
So, what is this technique? What is this rant that we are taking you down? Open sensor is pretty much a 3D form of filming. We'll touch more on it later on, but I just want to give you a basic synopsis on how this works. So, how can you start as a filmmaker, as an indie filmmaker, as a student filmmaker to shoot open sensor? You can start now, you can start fast, you can start simple. Take a DSLR. Any camera that is not of bridge form, that has a way of interchanging lenses, is the perfect place to start. So you first must remove the lens and start to film open sensor. This allows you to shoot full frame on any camera. It is an automatic switch to 4K, unless you have capabilities of shooting 5, 6, 7, or possibly even 8K, depending on your sensor. But ultimately, what it does, it allows you to have full range of flexibility in color and post. That means that if you work with a colorist, as some of you may have taken the color grading class last quarter, you will be able to use the full range of color. It's better than RAW. It's better than any normal film form in RAW. So as you can see up here, it's doable with the red cameras as well. Any 4.5K Raven can be turned into an 8K weapon. Any T3i that shoots at 720p 60 frames per second can be transformed into 2K 60 frames per second. Or a filming format of 1080p can be changed to about 4K, RAW, open sensor, and adjustable angles.
So it's up to us as up-and-coming filmmakers. We are the future of Hollywood. But I think that though we're the future, we need to start using open sensor shooting now so that we can show Hollywood truly what we're capable of. And honestly, I think that if we take advantage of this technique, we can make films that rival the ones that shoot at Regal, just right next to Latitude. And so it's really up to us to teach people about open sensor shooting. And Hollywood is really in bed with these lens-making companies, whether it be Canon or Rokinon. They want you guys to spend the hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars on their lenses, and then Canon and Rokinon just send that money back to the big studios in Hollywood. And we just think that that's wrong, especially as students. We're already spending so much money for this tuition that just having to buy lenses on top of the nice cameras that we have to have is really just throwing away our money. And we want you guys to know that.
We care about you. We care about each and every one of you. So it's really important that we understand fully exposing our frames, okay? So we all understand that film is an emotional medium. It is an emotional medium. This means that in order to fully communicate an emotion, we must fully expose ourselves. This is what we do with our cameras. We fully expose our cameras, so we fully expose the truth of a story. We fully expose the raw and epic image that is before us, that we have set up. This is a compliment. This is a compliment to actors, to gaffers, to grips, to PAs, to everybody who works on set to make a picture beautiful. So I really would promote this technique simply because it just makes sense. It makes sense and it connects. Yeah, it profoundly connects. Profoundly connects.
Now, one of the big advantages to shooting open sensor opposed to with lenses, like Randy, you save money, is that you can record in 3D space, which is something that lenses can't even do yet. I mean, of course, sometimes they might be able to, but open sensor allows you to record in 3D space. So theoretically, if I have my camera set up here, I have nearly a 180-degree field of view, and I am able to use that to capture anything in any angle in that 180 degrees. Right now, oftentimes, if you want to get different angles, you have to use a multicam setup, something similar to this. And assuming each camera there costs, what, $400 to $500, that quickly just adds up. So as Andrew's been demonstrating, you can capture any different angle at different focal lengths, different apertures, different ISOs, do with that one take that you get with a open sensor. Open sensor. So a few tips and tricks for open sensor that both of us have discovered.
Yeah, there are many.
These are just three. You guys can ask us about some other ones later on if you have specific questions. The first one we'd like to get in is film grain. Basically the only reason actually today to shoot on film is to get grain. You can add that onto digital cameras if you decide to use lenses. The problem with that is that if you use a digital grain pattern, there is a pattern to it where normal film stock won't have that pattern. But with open sensor, there's actually ways you can go around that to make sure you don't have that pattern, and so it looks more authentic. So what you would do is you take your camera and you want to put a little bit of sand directly on the sensor, and to make sure that the grain isn't static, that will give it the grain inlay. To make sure the grain isn't static, you just want to set it on a tripod and gently shake it, and then in post-production, you have that 180 field of view, so you'll have a little bit of camera movement. You can just apply warp stabilizer, which is in most editing softwares, to remove.
It's also available in DaVinci. Warp Stabilizer is available in multiple ranges of software.
You use them DaVinci, Premiere Pro, Microsoft Movie Maker.
We'll take questions after.
And we actually have a video demonstrating how to do this.
Yeah, to give the red a good scrub, you just grab a handful of sand, put it all in like inside the vents, give it a look, like a bit of a, just rub it real hard, and then, you just bang it.
So he obviously went for a heavier grain overlay. You can make that lighter if you want. It's all what you guys want, and it's a great in-camera hack.
Okay, so that was one technique. I'm going to bring you on to the next technique. Now, this technique is kind of a tedious process. It takes professional care. I have been trained in this technique. It took me about, give or take, 3 months. George Simon and I have been working on this technique for the last while. We've been waiting for the correct gear to come through. I have a video I'm going to show you in a moment of our instructors who actually taught us how to complete this technique. But pretty much, like after you've shot a film that has a grain style, like you're going to want to clean your sensor if you want to go for a more clean, smooth, soft, milky, cinematic sense if you're filming something different from their client per se. So what I advise you to do is take whatever camera you have. Again, I said you can use a DSLR, a RED, anything that has exposure. You can expose a full sensor, and you pour a bit of water in, and then you pour a lot of water in, and you kind of like slush it around for a bit, and then afterwards you've actually got to bathe the entire camera for about 2 minutes. You got to let it soak. And then after that, there's a very defined sponge technique that needs to occur. So I'm just going to show you a video. I'll speak no more, just so you can get the full sense of what.
Go ahead and get it right in there. Don't be shy. You got to remove all that heavy buildup. Now go ahead and give it a full dip in the bucket. We want water to run through every orifice in there, removing all that dirt that we can't see. Don't forget to give that memory card a nice soak as well. Now let's put that cap back on and lather up. You want to take a little soap, put it on your sponge, remembering not to use the abrasive side.
This is the instructor that instructed myself and George Simon. It's a very advanced technique. It was actually invented by a Japanese engineer. So our school couldn't afford to have the first instructor teach us, which is okay. It's totally fine. But we had that second one teach us. It's kind of like a more makeshift, do-it-yourself at home kind of technique. So I hope that this is kind of making more sense now logically. I'm sure it's obviously making more sense now. Of course, like we're showing you the videos, you're understanding more what this technique is. Correct? Yeah, I feel like we're making a connection here. Okay, good. All right, Ben, bring us on to the post-production on how to convert this footage.
Before I get into the post-production, which honestly can be hell if you don't know what you're doing, along with the sensor cleaning, is if you do shoot open sensor, honestly, chances are you are going to get a little bit more dirt on your camera than you normally would. And if you send it to your manufacturers, like Canon, Nikon, whatever it is, to get it cleaned, oftentimes they'll charge you $100 to $500 just to clean your camera. That is a great way to do it at home. It's the exact same thing. And also, there's products available now. You can get them. B&H actually just released one. They've been all over Amazon and eBay, where you can put chemicals in the water that will watermark your photos for you. That way you don't have to go through that in post-production. It just saves you a little bit of time.
It's free. It's almost free advertising. So like you make sure that your staple is on all the footage that you shoot. It gives you full promotion on every single project you work on, be it feature film or just small client project.
And on that segue from post-production, we're going on to post-production. So since there's just so much data that you're capturing when you shoot open sensor, typically actually your LCD screen will just be white since it's displaying so much data. Most cameras, especially consumer cameras, can't process that data. So once you get it into post-production, you usually have to convert it. There's different methods of doing that. One method that's kind of a do it at home one is you have to take the footage and put it through an Alienware Chromebook desktop liquid cool tower with 27 4K memory cards with 12 gigabytes of RAM. And you have to back it up on an 8 terabyte per second SanDisk floppy disk with Windows Movie Maker 1974 V codec at 46 color bit. It's also compatible with Premiere Pro CC. So here's a free video converter that you guys can download at home. This one is a little limited, so you have to spend a little bit of money if you want something to give you full advantages of shooting Open Sensor. But here's a video on how to use this free ABFocal Converter.
Hey, it's Nicholas here. So this application is actually the beta where you can only convert the millimeters. We'll be coming out with the full application in which you can change angles and frame rate and whatnot. But it's basically just as easy as it looks. You drag your footage in to where it says drop files here. You select what millimeter focal length you want to convert it to. Hit convert, and then it'll render right out to a folder with your new files. It's easy, it's simple, and we couldn't be more happy with the product.
Everyone give a warm round of applause, and thank you for Nick Alayo for doing that video for us.
If you haven't seen it, this point, you guys, he's been programming that all from scratch.
Yes.
So make sure you thank him if you see him.
And now we will move on to questions. I know that you all are really buzzing to ask. Okay, there's 2 hands over there from 1 person. While there's a lot of people want to ask questions about this new technique. So I'm going to start over here with Mr. Stephenson.
So I'm just curious, why don't you think the school is teaching us this technique yet?
Why hasn't the school taught us this technique? I personally would like to be the school's advocate in this position and say that Hollywood has been hiding it from our school. It's been hiding it from everyone, per se. So it's not really the school's fault, I wouldn't say. But you could take that up with George Simon.
Well, along with that, it is more advanced. That we talked about. There's a different post-production workflow. So it's not something you could really teach in a fundamentals class. I think that the school should actually create a new class to show you guys how to fully use Open Sensor Cinematography.
Lana.
So I might have missed this, but is Open Sensor, because it's more like program and everything, is it better than low light stuff?
Absolutely. Shooting Open Sensor is the best low light option. That's actually something we should have touched on. Open Sensor allows you to have full range from the complete darkest of shadows and the brightest of highlights, because it is a complete, open, and realistic picture of reality, which is also why you can move in 3D space in post-production using the correct softwares.
It captures all the available light, and then you have full control over your aperture. So you could even go to aperture f.1 if you really wanted to, and get that very, very, very shallow depth of field. You can put your ISO as high as you want it, really. The sky's the limit. So you have full control over your exposure with Open Sensor Cinematography.
Grace.
What was the infinite track
Over that, I think that they have a partnership with this Spotify artist, SoundCloud artist called T Swizzle. It's her new song called Ready For It.
Neil McDonough.
Yeah, do you have any advice for amateur filmmaker who kind of is afraid to use these kind of techniques?
Afraid.
Something for courage.
Fear strikes the heart of the filmmaker. I believe that I faced the same thing, my friend, when I first tried the Open Sensor technique. You know, it's not common. It's not a common technique, and many would scorn you for using such a technique because they say it's dangerous and it doesn't work, or it blinds your sensor completely and it breaks the camera entirely and it won't even start after use. But who even listens to reviews online? I don't. I personally don't. I don't listen to reviews online. So I just say, find a community of Open Sensor filmmakers. Find a community like us. We have a community. You can join us. We'll be outside for questions and exchange of contact later.
Just go for it. Just don't think about it. Just take your camera. Forget about the lenses. Just go film it. That's the only way you're going to understand it.
The best way to do it is to start with actually just having a bath with your camera. That was a personal connection for me, actually bathing with the camera in that same process. Mary Flynn.
Yes, hi. Question.
Yeah.
So I made this maybe the beginning part of your presentation. Did you have any
Yes, we did. Both Star Wars: The Force Awakens and Dunkirk. Those were two big ones that were really telling people that they shot on film, and that was a big selling point for them. They were actually shooting open sensor. Most people don't know that, and we really want to educate people about that.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'm afraid we're out of time. I hope you enjoyed this enlightening presentation. And if you have any more questions, of course, you can ask Ben or I at any time. God bless.